What up, world? So with the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference and the National Basketball Association, they easily have the first seed in the East, around 6 games over the Toronto Raptors. Let alone there won't be really home court when it comes to playing in Orlando. We have to see how the NBA adjusts on, sound speaker systems, advantages for the quote-unquote home team. I still expect the Milwaukee Bucks in the beginning of the season, let alone right now, to make it to the finals and go against either the Lakers or Clippers. Right now I have the Lakers, but if there was another team set for the Lakers in the West, it would be against the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't see any team in the East taking them down as a real threat. I like the matchup when it comes to the Miami Heat, possibly meeting them in the second round. I still don't justify that enough to Jimmy Butler can lead them over the Bucks. I think that could be a nice 6-game series. Great matchups, defensive sets, as well as close games as well. If they're going to go against the Toronto Raptors, I believe that will be the conference finals matchup. I think the Bucks will win that in 5 games. I don't see the Celtics getting past the Raptors in a 7-game series as of right now, and I still don't think that will be the case. But I don't see any team going against the Bucks to really take them down in the Eastern Conference. I think this is Giannis' year to where he'll get to the finals, not win it, but get to it. And I think this is LeBron's year to win the championship. But let them talk about it, and I'll give my take.
No, they're missing the finals. You got it right. You nailed it. That's the easiest question I've ever been asked. Winning it all. The Bucks are going to be in the NBA Finals. I am more confident the Bucks are going to be in the NBA Finals than I am of my pick to actually win the NBA Finals, that the Lakers will be in the NBA Finals. People need to remember last season. Last season, the Bucks were a double overtime game away from not only going to the finals.
Yeah, real quickly, but that was game 3. Double overtime, the Bucks were up 2-0. Everyone was expecting, okay, it's going to be Bucks Warriors in the finals. The Bucks went to double overtime, and the Raptors pulled through at the very end with Kawhi Leonard, and then that just gave the momentum to the Raptors to win game 4 at home, steal game 5 with Milwaukee, and then finish off in great fashion to win 4 straight in a row. But the Bucks were right there. Pretty much everyone expected the Bucks to make the finals. Some people threw around the Sixers during that playoff series in the very beginning. But yeah, with Toronto, with Kawhi Leonard out of that team, the door is open for Milwaukee and a new experience in Hungary or Giannis. I think everything lines up. I would be shocked if anyone defeats the Bucks in the Eastern Conference.
Up to that point, they were 10-1 in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and then they lost that double overtime game, and things went awry for them from there. I know Broussard will say Kawhi Leonard activated the Infinity Stone. I think it's a little more in-depth than that. But Kawhi Leonard's not in the conference anymore, so it doesn't even matter. This is the best team in the East by far. They've got a guy who's about to win his 2nd consecutive league MVP, and he should. LeBron should finish 2nd, but Giannis should win the award. And whenever we talk about the Bucks, we say, yeah, but they don't have a great second star. And while Chris Middleton isn't the name that some of these other guys' second stars is, Chris Middleton is having a better season than, for example, Kawhi's second star than Paul George. Chris Middleton's having a 50-40-90 year. A 50-40-90 year for Chris Middleton. You have a few concerns about the coach in the playoffs. I understand that. But who in the East is challenging him? That's what.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's having a very underrated season. First-time All-Star, kudos to him. He's picked up his game. I never thought Chris would actually reach this level in his career, so kudos to him. And if you're looking at the Eastern Conference, when it comes to dynamic duos, it isn't present really. Chris Middleton is having a better season than Kemba Walker on the Celtics as a second option. Same thing with Kyle Lowry on the Raptors. With the Sixers, they're probably going to lose in the first round, maybe second round. I think the Sixers are just a mumbo-jumbo mess. But you do have around Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid being debated. But Chris Middleton's been up there. He's going to be very consistent. And they don't rely on him too much. He can give you 23 points easy,
someone's going to have to
especially
explain
in the playoffs.
To me. Now, in the finals, not only do I think they will be challenged, I think they can be beaten, and they will be beaten because they're going to be facing LeBron and the Lakers. But no, I would be gobsmacked, Wilds, if the Bucks don't represent the Eastern Conference in these NBA Finals.
Yeah, it takes a lot for you to be gobsmacked, Nick, so that's a good take. Look, I think the Bucks are a little bit The Bucks are a little bit like fresh squeezed orange juice. You get a little fresh squeezed orange juice, you say, wow, this is going to be great. And then you have a sip of it, and you say, you know what? This is 10 times better than I realized. It's great and still underrated. Because rather than talk about the Bucks making it to the finals or winning the finals, we should really be talking about the Bucks being one of the best teams of all time when we look at their point differential. Right up there with Wilt and Kareem and Jordan. And here's the little bit of what makes them super underrated. Their star player barely plays. We can show how many minutes he's playing a game. Look at he's up there with Dennis Schroeder, Giannis, Darius Garland, and Joe Harris. He's barely playing Broussard. So when Budenholzer talks about...
Yeah, shout out to Mike Budenholzer. He pretty much knows how to run that team 10 deep, if anything, get the players intact. We've seen with Mike Budenholzer back in 2015 with the Atlanta Hawks. They had Kyle Korver, Al Horford, Paul Millsap, and Jeff Teague. There were all 4 All-Stars that season, and some of them wasn't really, not really considered as much, but they didn't win 60 games. So you had to give it to them. So kudos to them. Mike Budenholzer is a great coach when it comes to an offensive system surrounding Giannis and shooters, and as well as he doesn't need Giannis to play around 40 minutes a game like LeBron James and the Lakers or Cavs or Heat when it comes to it. Giannis and the team with Mike Budenholzer, they play smart. They blow out teams. They have an offensive system. Kind of same thing with Steve Kerr with whenever it comes to Steph Curry and the Warriors back, a couple years ago and such like that. But they're going to have to ramp up more minutes to Giannis in the playoffs. He's going to play around 40 at least, especially in the finals against LeBron and them. With that being said, I don't trust Giannis in the clutch if he were to go against the Lakers, but maybe he could steal a game or two. But I got the Lakers winning that like in 6.
That was their plan the entire year. They've limited his workload. Not like Harden's playing a ton of minutes, Dame's playing a ton of minutes, Russ is playing a ton of minutes. So I think the Bucks roll here, and come October, we'll be talking about, are they one of the best teams of all time?
Wow. I'm gobsmacked.
That's true.
Gobsmacked.
Oh, wow, double.
And then gobsmacked that Nick thinks this is such an easy question. I think it's tough because, one, I do think the Bucks will win the East, so I will give them that. However, I give them very little chance, very little, of beating whichever LA team comes out of the West.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. They're going to smack through the Eastern Conference easily. Well, not smack, but if they go against maybe a Heat, let alone maybe even a Celtics matchup, maybe 6 games, respectable. But they're going to represent the Eastern Conference. If they go against either the Clippers or Lakers in the finals, they're going to lose. Either the Lakers or Clippers, whoever's coming out of the West, are going to beat the Bucks. And which I think the Lakers are going to squeak out of a 7-game series against the Clippers, but it's another subject for another day.
I am going to say they have a better chance of missing the final.
Oh boy,
look, they could end up being like those last 2 teams LeBron was on in Cleveland before going to Miami. Those teams were very good. They were tremendous in the regular season. 66 wins, 61 wins, but couldn't get over the hump in the Eastern Conference playoffs because of matchups or a lack of talent or a second guy that could get it done. And that kind of reminds me of Milwaukee. They're a one-man show, just like LeBron was with those squads in Cleveland. Chris Middleton, he deserved to be an all-star the last 2 years.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I've stated in a couple of videos I have those Giannis LeBron vibes back in 2019 or 2009, 2010, whenever it was LeBron's last 2 seasons. Same thing with Giannis here. But whenever it comes to it, he does have Chris Middleton, who's a legitimate star, or not a star, a legitimate all-star in this league. You have great veterans and shooters surrounding him. George Hill, you have Eric Bledsoe, Brook Lopez, you have Ilyasova, and you have a couple cats like that. So their starting 5 is a great championship starting 5. Whenever it came to LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers, besides LeBron, that team was, doo-doo. Whenever it comes to the Bucks and without Giannis, still a playoff team. Even though Giannis is the engine and the heart, same thing with LeBron, but LeBron had more impact. And if Giannis, doesn't perform as well, the Bucks could still be a great defensive team as well as have that experience to help him out.
But we saw something very disturbing last year when, yes, Kawhi activated the Infinity Stone, and Middleton went the opposite way. Less than 14 points on 41% shooting a game against Toronto in that series. And he only totaled 20 points in the last 2 games, Nick. So I am not sure that when push comes to shove, is Middleton going to be there. Plus, you got teams, you know that they're going to pack it in and make Giannis shoot the 3 or shoot the outside jumper. He's improved, but still below 31% from 3. I'm picking Milwaukee in the East, but it is not going to be easy. I think Boston, which is very well coached, which is very good talent, is going to be tough. You always like to dismiss the Celtics, but watch out for them.
Well, the Celtics, if the bracket holds, Celtics are going to have trouble getting out of the first round against Philly. But, man, the legend of Kawhi Leonard continues to grow because Broussard's been telling me for 9 months that Kawhi Leonard shut down Giannis those final 4 games. Now it turns out Kawhi Leonard shut down Giannis and Chris Middleton. So I guess that Infinity Stone involves some type of duplication process, cloning process, where he was 2 places at once. So more credit to the reigning Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard. Listen, I understand Wild's point about the point differential, and I know Broussard, metaphorically or literally rolled his eyes. He just wasn't on camera. If they win the title, we are going to have to put them in that discussion because of that. It should be noted, though, that we showed the top 5 in point differential where the Bucks are 5th.
Yeah, if the Bucks and Giannis win the championship, they'll have to be probably top 10. I think around a top 10, one of the greatest teams of, who's kind of played, in this era in basketball, of course, in history. And with Giannis, if he were to beat a Kawhi Leonard in the Clippers or LeBron in the Lakers, and being around 25 years of age, and for a team of Milwaukee, not with a true, he has a second option with Chris Middleton, but not a true star, because in this day and age, there's usually a star player. He's an all-star. He's not really considered a star, if you know what kind of catching my drift. But that would enhance Giannis easily as the greatest player in the world. And with his legacy, man, that's huge. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's still too young. It's not his time. I think he's going to leave Milwaukee after 2021 and will join probably the Miami Heat to form, a team. But that's another subject for another day. If you expanded it to the top 10, you get 3 other teams: the 2016 Warriors, the 2016 Spurs, and the 72 Bucks, all of which did not win the finals. So the top 4 always have. We'll see what direction Milwaukee goes. But I'm just really taken aback a bit by Kawhi Leonard. It's not even the topic of the conversation, but wow, man, shut down the top 2 guys on the Bucks. More power to him. Maybe he is the best player in basketball. I didn't know it was possible.
Hey, Broussard, let that sink in for a second. The other issue here is how much pressure the Bucks are under right now to win. It almost feels like they need to win this year if they want any chance of keeping Giannis long term.
Listen, I've stated this, and I'm going to repeat it again. I think the Bucks will make the finals this season. I think they're going to lose to the Lakers. If it is the Clippers, they're going to lose as well. They won't make back another NBA Finals the following season. I think it's perfect timing for the Brooklyn Nets to come into that era. I think Giannis then will leave the Bucks because he's going to be pressured to win a championship around 27 years of age, and he will leave the Bucks because all these veterans are getting older. You're not going to bring in and draw any other free agents, and he's going to be in the same situation as Kevin Durant in 2016. Not saying he's going to join the Warriors, but to leave the franchise. Now, when it comes to Giannis actually, let's just say the Bucks win the championship, Giannis will stay with the Bucks. I foresee that easily. But I think he's going to be too desperate to where they don't win a championship, he's going to leave off. But yeah, if you're Milwaukee's management, you're pushing all out for the Bucks to win the championship because you're going to retain Giannis. If you don't, I think he's going to walk easily. I think in 2021, the following season, if they lose this championship, they're going to go all out for Giannis' last contract year before free agency. Probably bring in a Chris Paul on that team. He's in a similar situation. They're going to make some big moves for next season for sure.
On the team. So I wonder
passion as we're on our way, and the following season we can win it. So the biggest problem for Giannis' future in Milwaukee will be if they don't get to the final. That's when I think you would really begin to think like, okay, do we have enough here to ever win it at all? And so that's the challenge for them. But remember, they got him locked up for one more season after this. So as long as they get to the finals, and then they'll have another chance to win it next year. Or let me back up a little. If they don't reach the finals, the pressure will be on them to make a big change, a big personnel move that would.
Bingo. Like I said, they're probably going to have to go for Chris Paul. Thunder probably going to have to blow it up, want to let him go. Chris Paul's searching for that championship. He has 1 year left in his contract. I think Chris Paul, if they were to make a trade, maybe after. I made a video on this kind of a while back, but you're probably going to have to let go of Eric Bledsoe, maybe George Hill, Silva, maybe a pick or two to Sam Presti and the crew in the OKC. Make it happen so you'll have, let's just say for a scenario, Chris Paul, starting point guard, Wesley Matthews, Chris Middleton at 3, Giannis at the 4, Brook Lopez at the 5. That's a championship starting team right there easily. And if that team were to go against the Nets in the conference finals, watch out.
Give them a better chance the last year with Giannis to get to the finals and maybe win it. I still think he'll have they got one more year to make you feel like they can win it. He's a loyal guy. So there's no need to panic if they don't win it all this year.
That's interesting, Broussard. The idea that they would make a big move is really interesting. I don't know what that move would be. They're so good in the regular season. Their point differential is great. You would think that as constructed, they're built to win the finals. But if they run into some trouble, I'm going to throw it back to you. What move do you think they would make?
Listen, Chris Paul. If it's not Chris Paul's a perfect number 2 option when it'll come to Giannis. He's a veteran who not quote-unquote knows how to win. He brings that energy as well as that demand for a team. I think that's perfect where him and Giannis are really craving for a championship. If it's not Chris Paul, there's really no other big moves. Last offseason, this was pretty much where all the star players switched teams for a 4 or 5 year contract. So we're not going to see any big moves this offseason, let alone this free agency class with AD, Andre Drummond, DeMar DeRozan. Those are pretty much the 3 highlights of the stars, quote-unquote, or all-stars. There's no other big names, just role players. So if you're going to make a trade, I only see Chris Paul as being a quote-unquote somewhat big move. There's not really any other players. Like LaMarcus Aldridge, that's not worthy of it. Maybe even go for Joel Embiid if the Sixers are that desperate. I don't know who they would trade him for. Maybe Chris Middleton. But then again, Giannis, I don't think he would stay with the Bucks, and it's just going to put Joel Embiid in a bad situation for like 3 years left in his contract. But I think Chris Paul is perfect for his contract to 1 year left for the Bucks.
I don't know. It would be tough because, as you said, they're running through teams in the regular season. They got size. They're great defensively. They shoot the 3 well. But getting to the finals and losing, I don't think necessitates a huge move. If they lose in the Eastern Conference playoffs, I don't think they can stand pat and just think, okay, and we're going to get there next year and win it. I think they would have to try to keep Giannis.
I totally agree with you, Broussard, that if they don't make the finals, I wouldn't trade Giannis, even if he says, if they miss the finals and he says, I'm not re-signing, I still wouldn't trade him because you can win the title next year.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Giannis is not going to say that he's going to want to be traded. He's not going to pull a Melo back in 2011 with the Nuggets and the Knicks. Giannis is smarter than that. These cats, they like the drama. They'll finish off their season, their contract, then they'll, enjoy free agency. And Giannis, I don't think he even knows where he wants to go. I think Miami is a great, mature option. I think he's looking at other franchises as well. But Giannis doesn't have that demand or personnel. He's a cat who's very competitive, kind of has the Mamba mentality, somewhere around there. And he has a great chance of winning the 2021 championship, let alone this one. I would doubt he would ever do that. But if he were to, if you're the Bucks, you're going for a championship. You're not going to trade him.
Change his mind. It's not an Anthony Davis situation where he tells you he's leaving and you know you can't win the title, so you have to get what you can try to get. But where I would push back a bit as far as, or where I would agree with you, I should say, is if they don't make the finals, you
That's what I've been saying. There's no other team that can touch Milwaukee. If they lose in the Eastern Conference playoffs, that's a detriment. That's a bad look to Giannis, and the Bucks really look at themselves in the mirror. I think the only team that's best case scenario to take him down is the Celtics. I don't think the Celtics will meet him in the conference finals, so the Bucks are going to have their way with the Raptors. But no, that's a bad look for Giannis and them. But I don't see that it happen anyways.
Signs the extension or not, you can't just run it back. But I don't think they're going to stumble. I think they're going to roll through the Eastern Conference and then face a really tough matchup in the NBA Finals against the Lakers, maybe against the Rockets, and I guess there's an outside chance the Clippers.
Yeah, overall, I got the Bucks easily. Well, I don't think any other team will catch them in the East. Bucks will represent the Eastern Conference. In the West, either the Clippers or Lakers. I've been always saying the Lakers. I'm sticking with them. I feel good about it. I think the Lakers will take down the Bucks fairly respectably. Kind of like in the 2012 Finals with Kevin Durant whenever he was young and he was on the Thunder. I think it'll probably be 6 games. We have to see what happens with the Milwaukee Bucks in these playoffs with Giannis. But yeah, this is something the Milwaukee Bucks are probably going to have to make a move, really consider for the future.